Welcome, welcome, welcome to the invitation to the first gathering of the Potluck Pandemic Collective. You already got an invitation to the pandemic, whether you wanted it or not, and whether you were conscious of it or not. And it is a potluck. That is a basic operating principle that we each are being called to bring something to the table now. We each have unique gifts and strengths and energies that we can bring to the world, into this collective, into our practice of mindfulness and all the other wisdom traditions, so that we can upcycle this suffering. We can spin this into gold. That's the alchemy. And this virus is the coronavirus. It is our ability to connect above and below. But before we go off on that tangent or other tangents, which are sure to follow, today we're going to talk about those pesky avocados on the counter and also plantains, which I have become fond of, because we're going to talk about time. Many of us have wondered throughout these months, what is mine to do? What is mine to do? And what is not mine to do? What is mine to give? What is mine to offer? Whether that's politically, socially, in terms of the climate, in terms of racial awareness, and within, what is mine to do? And all I can say is there is a moment when the plantain on the counter can only be lifted by those really long tongs that your sister who's a nurse can give you, and the avocados that you've just been sitting with, waiting for them to become perfect, because that's what we do. We buy them, we put them on the counter, and we think to ourselves, they're gonna make great avocado bread, or what wonderful avocado toast. They're just not ready, and they're just not ready, and they're just not ready, and we're not paying attention. And then one day, you'll see why I'm wearing the gloves. They're so hollow, I could make rattles out of them. They also look a little bit lethal because they do have what I suspect is some type of mold, thus the gloves. So, and I could be wearing a mask at this point as well. I use this to illustrate the idea that I'm not the only one this has happened to, right? Over and over again. I buy the avocados and they sit there. And then there's a point of no return, and then I beat myself up and judge myself that I didn't use them at the right time. Well, guess what? That time is over. The only time we have is now. And there are always more avocados. There are a bunch more over there. The idea is that we have to start exactly where we are. Exactly where we are in this moment, in this body, with what we've got. And most of the time, we have so much more in our pantry of possibilities that makes us exactly us. We have so much more that we could resource within and then give to other people and share than we have any idea. But we get really scrunched down, and this is what happens because when our nervous system goes kablooey, as we've all been in we've been in stress now it's been code red for, almost a year. So the entire sphincter, every sphincter in your body, your GI system, it's like a strangulation of all your creativity and your possibility to give. Possibility to give requires space, and it also requires vision and community. That's a lot of things. So I am going to remove my Stevie Nicks ware, which is fabulous, although not in the kitchen, because it gets caught on the knobs, and also, by the way, there's fire. So here's what I'm proposing. That mindfulness, for which there are really basic recipes, and I am so happy to share them with you. I'm happy to share the basic recipes for different mindfulness practices, and you will go off and customize them to your heart's delight. That is my sincerest hope. But one of the things that's required is awareness. And it's a real 360 kind of awareness that you can get if you too sit on a lazy Susan or sit on top of a wheel on top of a lazy Susan. So, as the wheel of the cart follows the step of the ox, we're going to get where we're going. Largely by following our mind and what we choose to do with our mind. I'm out of my mind for being on this because I feel like it's going to break. So I'm going to take it down. But I am going to tout the beauty of the lazy Susan. And I want to talk about this as well, which is that the lazy Susan is a fantastic tool. Just like meditation is a tool that gives us a different vantage point. The lazy Susan, and this is a gorgeous one that my children gave me for Christmas last year, the lazy Susan allows us to just to move things in a very simple way, circular way. It's fun to just watch. But a lazy Susan, I looked this up, and there is some speculation that Thomas Jefferson, who also has to do with the dumbwaiter, named the lazy Susan for his daughter. But where I'm going to take it to task is this. We are all in need of tools in our lives that make things easier and not harder. And somewhere along the line, we all got the idea, especially women, that if it was easier or softer or sweeter, then it must be lazy. So I'm just going to have you put that in your pot and let that percolate to discuss. Because one of the things in these gatherings that I would really wish for is that we can share the things that make life easier, without fear of all of our conditioning that says, well, you can't share that. Well, first of all, that's too easy. That can't possibly work. Yes, it can. Or you don't want to share that with other people because then what? Then we all might feel better and things might be easier. I'm just going to lob a little question, and I'm not going to lob an avocado at you, but I am going to ask this. How many times do you actually find yourself holding back from sharing what could be potentially useful or good for someone else? And we do this for a variety of reasons. One, we have the hang back because we're afraid that maybe our offering will be rejected, that it's not good enough, there aren't enough footnotes and attributions in it, that it seems so silly or childlike, or we're just very isolated from each other. And so, especially during this time, it feels really important to pool our resources and really to upcycle all of us in a circle. A circle is very different than any other format for a gathering. I wished my entire life for a round table, and now I have one. And I've always wished that everybody could come and fit in this teeny tiny farmhouse kitchen. Well, guess what? One of the great gifts of the pandemic and 2020 has been that we've had to find new ways and new possibilities for things that we never thought were possible before. So, as Abraham Maslow said, if the only tool you have is a hammer, then you tend to perceive every problem as a nail. Well, if the only tool you have in your toolbox is reactivity and old negative conditioning, then you tend to see every problem as a problem and not a possibility or a gift. I think there are many, many more gifts that we could share with each other. And the gifts of the teachings of mindfulness, first of all, they're not secret recipes. They're pretty simple. I'll be delighted to be able to share them with you. And they will be freely offered. I need some folks to come along so that this is functioning as the practicum for I've been in the Mindfulness Meditation Teacher Certification Program, that is a big mouthful, with Jack Kornfield and Tara Brock for 2 years. And this is the culmination of that, being able to offer these particular teachings. And so it would be very helpful to me if some of you would join. Not so much as a class, as a gathering, and as a circle. So let's see, what else was I going to say? So it's not unlike, forward really quickly because my computer just decided to, okay, doesn't matter. I guess we're just not going to see what happens there. So these gatherings will take place on Sunday at 11 a.m. I know people have Eastern time. I know people have places to be, and we will do some talking and sort of modeling of the topic. Tomorrow we'll be talking about finding space in this time particularly, and gathering our attention in the body, mindfulness of the body. And there will be time to discuss and share and do some really short practices. So what I'd like to offer are not these big, long practices. Those are wonderful. Go on retreats, spend lots of time sitting. I'm talking about the everyday, practical, tactical of meditation that can really serve us in these times. I'm talking about a practice like one breath, following one breath that could save your life, literally save your life. It did mine. And the current research does show, if this interests you, here's my timer for 7 minutes. This is what's needed, 7 minutes a day of mindfulness practice, of meditation. It's a wonderful thing, and we also need some really short practices that we can do in conflict with other people, that we could drop into, that we can do and people don't even know that we're doing them. So we will be doing a little bit of yoga. The yoga we'll be doing is in service to the sitting, so that will be bringing my background so that we can sit again with more ease, if that's how we're choosing to sit. And you could also lie down, you could there's walking meditation, you can stand, it's your choice. This entire experience is customizable to you. I'm sure you've figured that out by now. So I don't want to say too much more. I'm not even sure how long this has been going on, except to offer that there will be a Facebook group, and in that I would really love it if people would come and bring what you have. There are books that cook, there are books that we can share with each other, there's music that we can point each other in the right direction of, podcasts, poems, all the good stuff, as they say. Let's put it in the pot. So I'm going to leave you with this, out of all the other things that I thought we might do today. So when I was in the first grade in Annandale, Virginia, elementary school, I was the narrator. This was my first role. I was the narrator in the first grade production, cross class production of Stone Soup. And you may know the story the old story of Stone Soup. So what happens is, it's always sort of a grifter, or sort of a fellow who comes to town. He's kind of a ruffian, and he's got nothing to eat, but he's kind of charming. And he has a stone, and he doesn't even have a pot. He goes to the first person and explains this amazing recipe for stone soup that he'd like to make, but and so is there a pot? Someone built a fire. Do you have a carrot? Can you bring some onions? Oh, I can pull some potatoes. Oh, I have a bit of meat. My favorite part, I have no idea why. The barley, someone had some barley, okay? And before you know it, there's a roaring fire and there's an enormous vat of this stone soup, very delicious, sustaining, nourishing soup. And everyone in the entire community partakes. And something magical does happen when we practice and we nourish together. However, in this case, I don't have the pot. It's true, I don't have the pot. I do have this excellent, excellent stone, and we can use that for grounding. I'm going to say that everybody here is the container. This gathering, this space, this circular space, is the vat. And we ourselves are limitless containers. I promise you that I can tell you, after my years of doing these practices and being on this path, that I have been able to open and realize that I am a much bigger container than I ever thought was possible. And that's really saying a lot for me. So as a collective, we can expand our container and we can put in all this good stuff, and we will create something new, something vibrant. So this is a kitchen of possibility. This is a time of possibility, and all the strands are here right in front of us, each of us. And it's like we're looking at the timeline. How could it go? How will it go? I mean, not just talking about November 2nd, November 3rd, November 4th, far, far beyond that. You know, when 7 generations in the future are going to wonder, you know, what was ours to give? What was ours to put in the pot? So whatever you have, and whatever you're practicing with, as imperfect as you may think it is, it's perfect. And the timing is perfect. And you will be so welcome at this gathering, in this circle, because we are all deeply, deeply in need of connection and nourishment at this time. So, let me know. You can let me know in the comments if you're on Facebook. If you're on Instagram, you could message me if you're interested, and I will send you the Zoom link for tomorrow's meeting, which will be on All Saints Day, which will be kind of nice. So I am looking forward. I was hoping we would do a short practice tonight, but I kind of talked for a long time. So maybe the practice is simply this. Maybe the practice is simply starting, if I'm starting right where I am, right now, well, where is that? Contacting, closing the eyes if that's comfortable, leaving them open if that's better for you, or softly focused, all customizable. Simply breathing in and out, just seeing if you can get a taste of what's really here and what is needed in this time. What's really on your counter? You know, is it an avocado? Is it a plantain? What's here that you can give and that you can work with? And what if the container of the heart is so vast that even if it feels unworkable, it is all able to be held in the field of awareness. I hope you join me. I think it's going to be pretty fabulous. Blessings to everyone. May all beings in all directions, in all parts of this soup pot, may all beings awaken and be free.